Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to take a look at something really interesting. It's going to be how to do, I'm calling it zero code custom nodes, but there is some code. It's just that you're not going to be writing it by hand. Before I forget, hit that bell. Now, where were we? What we're going to do is we're going to use Claude. Okay, Claude is the AI from Anthropic. It's quite a good coding assistant. And provided you have at least a basic knowledge of what you're doing, you should be able to achieve simple things. Now, obviously, custom nodes is a deep subject. So what I'm going to be doing is looking at the save path node, the project path saving node, which I'd made last time. So all that does really is create a path, which it can then be put into save nodes. All right. Look at the previous video if you want to check that one out. If you want to have a look at the actual code for what we're going to look at today, it's going to be the project file path node.py, which is in the DJ&Z nodes pack, which you can obviously git clone into your comfy in the usual way. And so let's just dive straight into the conversation, because obviously LLMs are a conversational based. So let's just see what we've done here. Now, this on the right is actually the final version, which has been implemented already. And there's a lot more going on here than just it gave code. So what I want to show you is the basic idea here. So let's just take a quick look at what I asked it. I said, often in comfyui, I need to, by the way, you should always ask your LLM, do you know what comfyui is? And it does. So often in comfyui, I need to save file names in a complicated way. I need to join text strings to create a path structure so that my generations are organized. I must set a project name in plain text, which must then be concatenated to produce a safe path for saving the files. I want to create a custom node for this purpose. This would simply offer text fields for the path options, example, and I give it an example of what the path should look like. Okay. It would use a prefix root, text entry, project name, and suffix options for the node, separating by the option of / or / for different file systems, because obviously Windows uses a forward, Linux uses a /. Here is an example of a working node I built previously, which pulls random lines from text files. We want to do something similar, however, to safely create organized and structured trees for projects. And then I've included the code for my Zenkai prompt v2. So it's got like a template to adhere to. Obviously, it does understand what a comfy node is, okay? Thankfully, when they created it, they've done all that in a way that it makes sense to the AI. So I understand. So here's the response from the AI right now. This is the first response. I understand you want to create a custom node for comfyui that helps organize file paths for your project generations. Based on your requirements, I'll create a new node class that allows you to set a project name and concatenate it with other path components to create a safe file path. So it completely understood what I'm asking for. And then it's written me a Python implementation. So let's take a look at the first one. So in the first one, I'm not going to go through every single version because we do iteratively develop this and test it. I just want to explain what you do at this point. So at this point, what I would do is I would open up my custom nodes folder. So here's my custom nodes folder, right? Now, I already had aspect size. So generally, when I'm making a new node, I will Control-C, Control-V, and then I will rename this. So this one is project file path node. So I will rename the new Python file to project file path node, okay? Which is what I did. And then I'll open it up in Visual Studio Code. I think this is like the community edition. It's free. And then what I'll do is I will drop in the code. So I will click copy contents, Control A, and then Control V. All right. And once you've done that, you will have this version of the code. Now you're not done. So as I see here, it explains what it's done. Project name, root path, subfolder, separator, prefix, suffix. It's actually incorrect. Okay. But it's close. It's so close. So if we keep going down, it tells you exactly what it's done. I'm not going to, read every single piece out because obviously it's been on the screen. You could pause it and read it at any point. So what's going to happen is this won't actually work on its own. this won't actually work on its own because it's not been added to the init file. But don't worry, you can actually, we'll cover that in a second. So obviously I'm not done here. I've said we must improve sanitize path component by also converting any spaces to underscores. So I didn't want people to type in the space thing and it break everything, right? Because Linux and Windows handle spaces differently. So what we've done is we've just made it user underscore if it ever finds a space. All right. Also, there should not be so when I loaded it up the first time, I could see that there was a prefix and a suffix option. All right. And the prefix and the suffix option weren't required in that position. So I've made tweaks to it. All right. Or rather, I've told him to make tweaks to it. And then once we've got what we think should work, I say simulate the code and provide the output for, and these are the variables that you could choose on the node at this point. And so then it's going to tell me what the path will be. Okay. And then I'm like, break it down. So I said the prefix should start with a dot followed by the chosen separator. So it'll be /. Okay. Because obviously, to stop it from creating a folder in a strange place, we want it to start in the output directory. And that's the syntax for that. That way, our folder structure will go down from there. Okay. So again, it rewrites the code again for us, and we get something more like this now. In fact, as I could show you quickly, I forgot about that. I could quickly show you back here. You can see prefix and suffix. They're not required there. I was referring to project name and subfolder as a prefix and a suffix, or rather root path. Root path was the prefix. This is the main string, and then that's a suffix. But anyway, that was incorrect. So we come back down and we get to here. Okay. Now we're getting something which actually looks like a path. Okay. .folder Thoramain airship. So I could be loading Thoramain with airships to Loras in a photo workflow, and that's going to work. All right. And then I say we are doing this to ensure that the file path structure can only take place inside and below the current comfyui output folder. We cannot save outside of this location. The choice of separator is to allow Windows and Linux users to access the node. So I hadn't actually told the AI that yet. And sometimes telling the AI what you actually want to do, it's going to do things which you maybe didn't even consider automatically. So it's only advantageous. And sometimes just asking it, can we improve this script? It's going to come up with a bunch of suggestions and rewrite it for you. And they could well be things which you've just forgotten to, off the top of your head, implement. So it's very useful. So then we come down to the next version, and it says, oh, yeah, thanks very much, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really understand this. And then essentially it's given us an automatic component now. So now it will automatically detect. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. OS separator, OS path separator, / / and so on. So there we go. Have I got anything in there? Does it tell me anything? Import OS. Yeah, it should know from there. Anyway. Use OS path norm path to resolve. Yeah. So we've got a bunch of sanitization going on. So if we just continue, now we're getting something like this with Linux and something like this with Windows. So again, I can't really test it on Linux because I haven't got a Linux install. Maybe somebody can tell me. Right, the init. Please add new, I should have said new code, new node, whatever, to the init. So this is the init.py. Now, when you first open up yours, you will only have these two lines at the top, and then you will have your section, which is for your custom node. So right now, this one is for aspect size, and you can see all of the other custom nodes that I have here. So it's going to try to load the aspect by importing the script, and then it's going to map the name of that to the object, and then it's going to create a display name object, which has got some spaces in it. That's pretty much all it does. And then if there's a problem, it just doesn't load that particular node. So this way, if you have one broke, say you made a mistake in aspect size, It doesn't stop every other node from loading in the pack. You know, they can sort of fall back. So yeah, so that's the reason for that. And then at the very bottom, we're going to have this all node class mappings, node display name mappings. All right. So that's the init.py. All right. And you have to have your node referenced like this. So if we take a look at the one that we're doing today, wait a minute. So this is what it looked like before. See at the bottom, the last one is FFX Fadorama. And if we go to the updated py, after FFX Fadorama, it tells us to add the project file path node, just like this. Now, obviously, my example's already up in there, so I don't need to really print it on the screen or anything like that. You can just come to the GitHub, clone it, and you can use my init.py as a template. Essentially, everything between here and here should be one. You know, if you have one node, you only need one, and it should reference your script. Okay, so the file names matter, spaces matter, indentations matter. So make sure it's identical. But the point is that you shouldn't need to, because Claude will do it for you. All I said was I gave it my old init and I said, please add new code to the init, right? So that's that added. Yeah. So once you've got the script added to your init and you've actually got your code in place, you can just restart your Comfy server and see if the node is going to appear for you. So obviously I've continued to improve this script. We've had a few bugs. So I think I said I pasted an error here. So as you can see, what it's done is generated path must be within the comfyui folder. So for whatever reason, the / was not working correctly. And so it's given me some modified code. We've restarted we've saved it, restarted the server again, retested it again. And now the error is fixed, but the path generated was incorrect. It was making output folder, right? So I just told him this is what the error is, and he's rewritten the script again. And this time it's getting even closer. So now we're getting even closer to the goal. And so I say using root folder, project name, my project, subfolder, CNET, separator, auto. And then I think I must have pressed enter by accident. This produced output folder, my project, cnet.ping. I would now add the file name. So at this point, I didn't actually have the file name as an input. So root, project name, subfolder. So this next part is to make the file name become an input. So here we go. You can see at the top, we've now got file name as an input. Default is image.ping. That was also an oversight. I don't need to add the .ping because Comfy is going to do that when it adds the numbers to the end of the file name. So as we come down the chat conversation, we're nearly at the bottom now. So taking a look at this, let's simulate the code, folder, my project, cnet, output.ping auto, and it gives us what we want. The only thing is that this wasn't aware that it puts underscore 000.ping, whatever the number of the image, in sequence. And so we didn't need to add the .ping. Okay. So when we get down to the bottom, I think I published here and I went, yeah, it works. Great. Good stuff. Okay. So I tested it. It worked okay. One thing I didn't notice was that it was actually adding a .png underscore .png. No, it doesn't matter because this will just be ignored. It only reads the last dot and then extension, right? So this one just gets ignored. But I wanted it to be right. So obviously I've come in and I've said the node works great, but there's an oversight. It's adding automatic numbers in the PNG file for us. So we do not need to interfere. As a result, file names are created like this and so on. We need to fix our code so that we do not add the .png. And so it rewrote the code and the .png is gone. So if we just have a look at that code real quick, image.png, there's going to be some more stuff down here. There we go. Look. Ensure the file name has an extension. In the end, we didn't need to do that. So that code is gone. So that's it. And then that produces exactly what we want it to. Obviously, we can put anything we want in and it'll just work. Should work with any comfyui save node. But I just wanted to show you that this was created with a conversation. All you needed to know was that you need to have your code in a project file path node.py. I just copied the entire code in here. And then you need to have a basic understanding of how the init.py works. But you can just say, here we go. Please create me a clean init.py for only this node I have created today. Okay. And then it will give me an init that only does my node. Okay. And then maybe I would say, please, can you retain the fallback check used in my previous init for this .py. And we got the fallback check. Okay. So it's like I said, even if you don't, you know what I mean? You might think, oh, I've got to find that example. Oh, I've got to go to that GitHub and copy that guy's code. Half the time, you just need to know how to ask the question. So as you can see here, it's even telling you where to put the stuff. So, the method I'm using, they go in a folder. All right. So if I just have a look at the pathing here, it's quite important. So if we take a look at the pathing, I'm in custom nodes, DJZ nodes. Now you can just put Py scripts directly in the root here. Okay. But eventually, if you want to actually share them with people, it's probably going to be advantageous to have them in a named folder. So no, I'm not going to get into the Pi project and things like that. They've got a bunch of ways of publishing, but for making your own nodes, this is going to help you get started. I'm trying to encourage people to get into a bit more coding. Just because you don't know Python doesn't mean you can't have a little bit of fun. You can't break everything, okay? Because ultimately, when it depends what you're trying to do, but essentially you want to start off simple and learn more. There's lots of guides out there on things that you can do. A lot of the nodes which I've made are actually like very simple and not complicated. So by all means, take inspiration from them, and you can throw it into Claude. You can throw the script into Claude and say, "Hey, what does this do? What else could I do with it?" It might just do all the work for you, and I don't have a problem with that if it works. Just make sure that you're testing the stuff and you're not putting anything out that's broken. Okay, it's kind of like part of the thing, I guess. But you won't have broken stuff because Claude is so good at helping. All right. You can verbally explain your idea, give him an example custom node so he knows roughly what we're doing. And in fact, I don't need to do that. It just makes it more accurate. It makes you get the success rate faster. Okay. But essentially, this is the zero code custom node tutorial introduction. We're going to do some more on this. But it is what it says on the tin. You ask what you want, maybe give it an example. If it ever gets stuck, you can obviously copy the code from an example that works to try and help it along. But it's going to give you the code. So as long as you know that you have to register your init.py, like I say, and the actual path node, like I said, that is a .py. They both go into a folder. That folder is then, like I say, in custom nodes. You got your init.py, and then you've got your, script, which you've written with Claude. And that's all you need. Every time you make a change, you got to save it in here or whatever editor you're using. You got to save your script every time you've changed it, and then just go into Comfy and hit restart through the menu. Once it comes back online, refresh the browser and you're good to go. Just got to remember, so you've got to restart the server every time. Otherwise, you're going to get false positives or false negatives. And that is the long and short of it. So I'm very glad to be introducing you to this. I know there's a bunch of people who have got ideas, and you might find that using an LLM is going to get you over the hill. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
So, memberships are here. I've added donator and member. The donator membership is just you want to support the channel, help us grow. Member, you're going to get some exclusive video access. And check out the join now button for more information.